Many of you may have heard the term private labeling. And if you're wondering what that is, you're not alone. Simply put, private labeling is when one company manufactures or sources a product for the second company under the second company's brand. A great example is Costco. Costco has a brand called Kirkland Signature. And there's a ton of products that you'll see under the Kirkland Signature brand. Everything from wool socks to alcohol. So if you're a whiskey drinker like me, you may have noticed that Costco has their own whiskey brand called Kirkland Signature Scotch. Now, believe it or not, Costco has a private labeler that sources the whiskey for them. It's a company called Alexander Murray. And what makes this interesting is Alexander Murray also doesn't manufacture that whiskey. They buy it from an unknown distillery. So Alexander Murray private labels the whiskey product. What Alexander Murray does for Costco is that they bottle it and they label it under the Kirkland Signature brand, and then they send it out to Costco. So Costco then sells the whiskey under their name, and consumers trust Costco, they trust the brand, and then they buy the product. So why does Costco do this? Costco doesn't have to manufacture the whiskey, so they save money on that. They don't have to bottle the whiskey, so they save money on that. They don't have to label it, so they save money on that. There's no overhead, there's no liabilities. So that way Costco wins, Alexander Murray wins, and that private distillery wins. Many people in recent years have become filthy rich by private labeling. They bought products from overseas, companies like Alibaba or AliExpress, and then they've sold them under their own brand on Shopify stores or Amazon stores. Private labeling is a very interesting business model, and it's worth taking a closer look at. On today's podcast, we're welcoming Vinay Krishnani, who has over 15 years of experience in the luxury goods sector, specifically fine jewelry. Although I'd love to make today's show a QVC special, selling you some limited quantity necklaces and bracelets, our conversation with Vinay will be focused on private labeling. Vinay's company, Nivelle, is based out of New York City, and it's focused on helping young creatives and well-established e-commerce retailers with private labeling, manufacturing, and development of classic diamond jewelry. Vinay, welcome to the Business 360 podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. So why don't we start off with you telling us more about Nivelle and who do you actually serve?
So under Nivelle.nyc, I'm focused on helping young creatives and established e-commerce retailers with product development, private label manufacturing in the fine jewelry sector. Price range is a bit higher considering e-commerce. It's $1,500 and up, and now we're also accommodating $500 and up. So it's mainly focused on e-commerce in the fine jewelry sector.
Your company private labels for other businesses. Can you explain what you specifically do?
Yeah, essentially I am running the operations where I literally sourcing the product, different types of material. In my case, there's diamonds, there's mountings. I have different factories that I manufacture different product from, and putting it all together and supplying a finished product to this e-commerce jeweler who has the product posted on their site. And my goal is to be consistent on every delivery.
Many people ask, why would an established brand that has a lot of money hire you to make products for them when they clearly have the capacity to do it themselves?
Yeah, that's a great question. In the fine jewelry world, there's a lot of ambiguity to calculate material cost, gold and manufacturing over labor. There's in diamonds, there's multiple different qualities out there. So not only understanding the qualities and the pricing to actually hold different quantities of different sizes of diamonds and specific mountings of gold in stock is a good amount of investment. In my case, they can trust me as a supplier to fulfill the product consistently every time, over and over again.
So essentially, a established brand will work with you because the costs outweigh the benefits for them to do it themselves. and they rather have someone that is skilled and experienced on that do it for them.
Yeah, absolutely. They have oftentimes they have employees. Sometimes they'll hire an expert from a different industry altogether, and it's difficult for people from other industries to understand how the jewelry world works and how the material costing works and how the prices are broken down and so forth. So being able, it's much easier for them to consistently say, okay, product A is costing me this. We're buying it from Nivelle, and it's consistently coming in at the same price.
You, as a private labeler, are taking on the burden of manufacturing and sourcing. So, when taking orders, what are some pricing strategies you initiate to maximize your profit and mitigate your cost? In other words, do you take minimum order quantities or provide price breaks for larger orders?
Yeah, I actually focus on fewer but larger orders. It makes life easier, as you would imagine. I give price breaks on quantity orders. It's a win-win because when I purchase, the material in wholesale, I get a price break as well, and I pass forward a good portion of that to my client. And as much as it helps them, it helps me because it gets me larger orders.